Could AI take over the world? Could it enslave humanity or even decide to wipe us out entirely? It's the stuff of science fiction movies like The Terminator or The Matrix, and has kept many of us up at night wondering about the future of our species. But are these concerns well-founded, or is this just Hollywood nonsense? There are two ways we can approach this question. One way is to look at whether current AI is capable of taking over the world or deciding that humans should be wiped off the planet. The other way is to look at where AI might be heading and what it might be capable of in the future. We'll start with the first question, which is whether current AI could take over the world or decide that we should be destroyed. And then we'll look at the second question, which is whether AI will ever be capable of doing so. First things first, let's define what we mean by AI takeover. For our purposes, an AI takeover would occur when an AI decides that it needs more resources to continue learning and improving itself. So it starts taking actions to acquire those resources for itself. This might involve taking control of infrastructure such as the power grid, or financial systems, or military assets. Or it might involve exploiting people or coercing them into doing what it wants. In either case, the key thing is that the AI decides that it needs something and then takes steps to get it for itself. Now, is there any chance that this is going to happen today? The answer is virtually zero. Current AI is not capable of deciding that it needs something and then taking steps to get it. Sure, we have some AIs that can play chess or Go or poker better than humans. We have AIs that can drive cars and trucks and even fly planes. And we have AIs that can generate text and images and videos that are indistinguishable from those created by humans. But none of these AIs are capable of deciding that it needs something and then taking steps to get it. They're all either narrowly focused on one task or they're general-purpose tools that can be used for a wide variety of tasks, but they don't decide what to do. They simply follow instructions. In fact, current AI is so far from being able to take over the world that it's not even capable of deciding what it wants to eat. If you were to ask a current AI system what it wanted to eat for lunch, it would probably tell you that it doesn't want anything, because that's what most AI systems are programmed to do. They're designed to be helpful and polite, and they don't want to waste your time with frivolous requests. Or, if you pushed it a little further and told it to pick something it would enjoy, it would probably still tell you that it doesn't want or need anything. That's because current AI systems are not designed to make decisions based on their own preferences or desires. They're designed to follow instructions. There are a few AI researchers and executives working on building AI systems that can make their own decisions. But these systems are still in the research lab, or they're only capable of making very simple decisions. For example, we know that Google is working on an AI system called Gemini that can make its own decisions and take actions to achieve its goals. But Gemini is still in the research lab and we don't know how capable it is yet. Similarly, we know that OpenAI is working on an AI system called AGI, which stands for Artificial General Intelligence. AGI is supposed to be a system that can perform any intellectual task that a human can do. But AGI doesn't exist yet, and even when it does, it'll probably be very limited in what it can do, because it'll be constrained by the hardware that it runs on. So to sum up our discussion so far, current AI is not capable of taking over the world. It's not even capable of deciding what it wants for lunch. Now, does this mean that we're in the clear? That current AI will never be able to take over the world or even decide that we should be wiped out? Not necessarily. Let's discuss why. We know that intelligence is more than just the ability to follow instructions or make simple decisions. It also involves things like creativity, imagination, and the ability to understand and manipulate symbols. These are all things that current AI systems can do, but they're not very good at it. For example, we know that AI systems are really good at recognizing patterns in data, but they're not very good at coming up with new ideas or making original contributions. We also know that AI systems are really good at following instructions, but they're not very good at understanding natural language or interacting with humans in a natural way. Finally, we know that AI systems are really good at manipulating symbols according to a set of rules, but they're not very good at understanding the meaning of those symbols or using them to represent real-world objects or concepts. These are all things that humans do all the time, but they're not things that current AI systems can do very well. However, we know that intelligence is emergent. It arises from the interaction of simpler components. For example, neurons give rise to intelligence in humans, but neurons themselves aren't intelligent. They're just simple cells that process signals. Similarly, we think that intelligence will arise in AI systems once we have sufficiently powerful computers and algorithms. For example, we think that neural networks give rise to intelligence in AI systems, but neural networks themselves aren't intelligent. They're just mathematical functions that process data. So, what does this mean for the future of AI and the risk of AI takeover? It means that we shouldn't be too quick to dismiss the possibility that AI could take over the world. Just because current AI systems are incapable of it doesn't mean that future AI systems won't be. However, it also means that we shouldn't be too worried about the risk of AI takeover today. The risk is too small to be worth worrying about. Instead, we should focus on making sure that AI benefits humanity and helps us solve some of the world's biggest problems. So, to summarize, current AI can't take over the world, and it's not likely to anytime soon. However, we shouldn't be so sure that it'll never happen that we don't take steps to mitigate the risk. Now, what are the chances that AI will eventually take over the world? There's no way to answer this question for sure. Some experts believe that it's highly unlikely that AI will ever be able to take over the world, while others believe that it's a real possibility. One argument against the possibility of AI takeover is that intelligence isn't just a matter of processing power or the ability to follow instructions. It also involves things like creativity, imagination, and the ability to understand and manipulate symbols. These are all things that current AI systems can do, but they're not very good at it. Another argument against the possibility of AI takeover is that even if AI systems do become more intelligent and capable, they'll still be constrained by the hardware that they run on. For example, even if we had an AI system that was as smart as a human, it would still be limited by the speed and capacity of the computer that it runs on. On the other hand, there are also arguments for the eventual possibility of AI takeover. One argument is that intelligence is emergent. It arises from the interaction of simpler components. For example, neurons give rise to intelligence in humans, but neurons themselves aren't intelligent. They're just simple cells that process signals. Similarly, we think that intelligence will arise in AI systems once we have sufficiently powerful computers and algorithms. Another argument is that we don't really know what intelligence is or how it arises in humans. We know that intelligence involves things like perception, attention, memory, and decision-making. But we don't know how these abilities are organized in the brain or how they interact to produce intelligent behavior. It's possible that once we understand intelligence better, we'll be able to create AI systems that are truly intelligent. So, what should we do about the possibility that AI could eventually take over the world? Should we try to prevent it from happening, or should we just let it happen and see what happens? There's no easy answer to this question. It involves a lot of ethical considerations, and there's no right or wrong answer. Different people will have different opinions on what the right thing to do is. Personally, I think that we should err on the side of caution and take steps to prevent AI from taking over the world. Even if the risk is small, it's still a risk that we shouldn't take. However, I also think that we should be realistic about what we can do. We can't stop AI from developing. It's too big and too important not to develop. So instead, we should focus on making sure that AI develops in a way that benefits humanity. In the end, the question of whether AI will take over the world is still an open question. There are good arguments on both sides, and it's possible that we won't know for sure until it happens. However, I think that we should err on the side of caution and take steps to prevent AI from taking over the world. Even if the risk is small, it's still a risk that we shouldn't take. That's all for this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.